the Goodyear Playhouse. This year, as in every year for 42 consecutive years, the world over, more people ride on Goodyear tires than on any other kind. Goodyear, the greatest name in rubber, leading manufacturer of tires for every need, for passenger cars, trucks, farm tractors and implements, makers of quality products for the home and for industry. Goodyear and Goodyear dealers everywhere present the Goodyear Playhouse.
Confederate States of America, War Department, Richmond, Virginia, June 16, 1864. To Lieutenant Bennett H. Young, Lieutenant. You have been appointed temporarily First Lieutenant in the Provisional Army for Special Service. You will proceed without delay by the route already indicated to you and report to C.C. Clay, Jr. for orders. You will collect together such Confederate soldiers who have escaped from the enemy, not exceeding 22 in number.
On the 15th day of October, 1864, 20 Confederate officers and men dressed in civilian clothes arrived in the quiet New England town of St. Albans, Vermont, to prepare for the final phase of a daring and spectacular military mission which had been entrusted under this order to Lieutenant Bennett H. Young of Kentucky. These men, each an escaped prisoner of war, assembled in Canada and proceeded by separate routes to St. Albans. There they posed as horse traders, grain merchants, and lumber dealers. And for 5 days, they lived in this town 720 miles within the territory of the enemy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Philip Cullen. Mr. James Wesley. Mr. Gordon Oliver, Montreal, Canada.
You have a room for the three of us?
Yes, sir, we have. How long will you gentlemen be staying?
A few days. We're not quite sure.
Well, we have a nice room overlooking the green. This way, please.
Would you care to see the papers, sir?
Is that anything worth reading, sir?
General Sherman's returning to Atlanta, and Mr. Lincoln seems sure of re-election.
Well, now, yes, sir, I'd like to read about that, sir. Thank you.
You know what I just saw?
Yes, I know.
What?
You saw a pretty girl walking with her mother.
How did you know I was her mother?
Always is.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You know what? I can't get used to all of this civilian finery, eh?
Just remember the talk. That's what counts.
I'm Mr. James Wesley, sir, of the city of Montreal. Come to buy horses.
What kind of horse, sir?
Well, the Morgan horse, sir. I understand that Vermont is well known as a breeder of this famous animal.
Very good.
Oh, I didn't sound much like a Canadian, did I?
These people won't notice, as long as you're talking about money.
Yeah.
Oliver, any trouble on the way?
The customs man questioned us. Just want to make conversation.
Wesley? Did you see any of the others?
Anderson and Jessup, they're taking a room at a boarding house.
Good. You gentlemen can sit down. I'd like to go over a few things with the squad leaders while we're waiting for the other men to get here. Corporal Dober's been here since this morning and is working on a street map of the town.
Dober?
Oh, sir.
I think this will give us a clear picture of the problems involved in the mission. Over here is the First National Bank. Over here is the public.
Do you serve dinner?
Yes, sir, in the tap room.
Good. We've been on the road all day.
Quebec. We've had a number of gentlemen from Canada today.
So?
Would you like some hot water for a shave, sir?
Well, no, I'd like to shave. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. This way, please.
Well, I almost opened my big mouth that time, didn't I?
Well, now you ask me about Morgan horses. I'll tell you. Here, in St. Albans, Vermont, is the right place to buy Morgans. Best all-around horse on 4 feet. That's why they use them in some of the cavalry regiments. Ride circles around the ribs.
Well, I hadn't heard about that.
It's a fact. Ask anybody. Take last year at Gettysburg. You didn't hear much about the cavalry? No, sir. But they were there, all right.
And were you there too, sir?
Well, no, not personally. I was in Binghamton, New York.
Traveling in ironware.
Oh, not last year. I'm in ironware this year. Last year I had a line of harnesses.
Well, you keep quite busy, sir.
Busy? Lordy, yes. Business is booming all over. Couldn't be better. Of course, it's the war that's doing it. Yeah. Trouble is the war will be over in a few months, the way things are going.
Is that the general opinion?
It's my own personal opinion, sir. Now that we've adopted a realistic policy.
What kind, sir?
Realistic. Destroy their capacity to produce. Burn the crops. Burn the houses if you have to. We're not playing games with them.
Yes, I know someone in Tennessee.
Sir, will you pass me the cream, please?
This man's house was destroyed. His father and mother and younger sister were turned loose on the country to starve. His father went insane and died as a result of this new policy.
Oh, I guess things like that sometimes happen. But
If
the way
they happened
Sir.
up here...
The cream, please. Thank you.
The way I look at it, war is war, and that's that.
Quite right, sir.
Well, won't you join me in a glass of ale, gentlemen?
No, thank you, sir.
Anyways, we'll be in Richmond by spring. You can take my word for that.
Well, you seem to know a good deal about the military, sir. I was wondering, did you attend the military academy at West Point?
Well, no, but I read an awful lot, and I keep up.
And that's the general plan. Any questions?
When does this come off, Lieutenant?
Well, that depends on how soon you get the information. Wednesday, probably.
You think we need all that time, Lieutenant?
Yes, I do. I want each of you leaders to know the exact layout of the town, the daily routine, and cash position of the bank you've been assigned to.
4 more days is a mighty long time for me to have to keep my mouth shut, Lieutenant.
I imagine it is.
Tom Elvin, too. All he can do is just sit around and nod his head, yes or no. That Carolina talk of his, he can't even ask for a cup of coffee.
We need the 4 days, Martin. Tomorrow's Sunday. We won't be able to do much, so that gives us only Monday and Tuesday to look around.
Lieutenant, I guess it doesn't make much difference, but where do we stand legally, if you know what I mean?
Who cares?
Just asking.
You're a Confederate officer on a raid behind the enemy lines.
If you're caught, they won't take you prisoner. They'll hang you.
I think that's right. They'll hang you.
Well, you don't get caught. You shoot first.
You shoot only if you're fired on. Those are my orders.
I don't think Sherman is telling his men to wait in Georgia, Lieutenant.
My orders...
They didn't wait in Tennessee, Lieutenant. They burned down houses just to watch them burn. They tore that country open and took the insides out. Every butcher boy in the Army had a souvenir to take back to the North. You want them to get away with that?
Sit down.
I'm asking a legitimate question.
The purpose of this raid is to make them think we're organizing an army up in Canada. It'll draw off troops that are pressing General Lee in Petersburg. I give you a direct order, Lieutenant. You are not to fire unless fired on. Is that clear?
Yes, Lieutenant.
Further questions?
Why are we hitting the banks, Lieutenant?
Why, shucks, Mark. If you get a Yankee in his pocketbook, you're going to get him where it hurts the most.
The Confederacy can use the money, Mark. There may be $250,000 in those 3 banks.
What about the Greek fire, Lieutenant?
How does that work, sir? I'm coming to that. Each group will get 2 of these bottles. Before we ride out, they'll be thrown in commercial buildings along the main street. They start fires about an hour after we're gone.
I like that.
Are there any more questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, your men are free for the rest of the evening. I don't know if the town provides any amusement. Just tell them to keep out of trouble.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Our state capital, Montpelier, Vermont.
Oh, it's just like you were right there, practically. You could almost count every stone, couldn't you? Would you care to see this one?
Thank you. You've got a mighty pretty state here, ma'am. If you'll allow the liberty of my saying so.
It's no liberty to say things that are true, young man.
Oh, ma'am, I guess it isn't. But I'm a stranger in these parts, and I like to be on the safe side of social exchanges. Would you care to see the magnificent falls at Niagara, ma'am?
That's where I started. I guess I've seen all the rest.
Oh, thank you, miss. Oh, but sir, you haven't seen this breathtaking view?
Aren't your eyes tired? Mine are.
They do seem to be a little... Oh, well, nonsense, sir. You've only been halfway across the country.
Well, I guess I'm not a very good traveler.
Well, I'm afraid we aren't either. Are you ready, Hannah?
So early, ma'am?
We've come all the way from Brattleboro today. It's been very tiresome.
Well, I do hope we'll see you both in the morning.
We'll be here for 3 days, till our things come from Brattleboro.
Well, good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night, Miss Hannah.
Come along, dear.
You know, I haven't talked to a pretty girl in 3 years. Do you know they were that pretty up here?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either.
I never knew much about Yankees.
We know enough.
Yes, I suppose so. But sometimes you have to remind yourself these...
Would you care to use the stereoscope, sir?
Oh, yes, I would, sir. Thank you. Isn't this the...
State capital.
That's where he lives. That white frame colonial on the green, that's his house. He's a banker, or a lawyer. There's 2 children, a boy and a girl. The boy's in the army.
Phil, stop it.
Stop. Oh, I'm just speculating about the town's leading citizen, that's all.
Come on. Let's get downstairs and have a drink.
Still worried about me, aren't you, Gordon?
No, of course not.
Yes, you are. It's getting to be chronic. Sit down. I'm all right, Gordon. Really, I am.
Who says you aren't?
Stop worrying, will you?
All right.
I will carry out my assignment.
I know you will.
Anything beyond that is my own business.
No, Phil. That's where you're wrong.
I don't need a nursemaid.
Look, I'm not going to let you do it. I'd even stop you thinking about it if I could.
About what?
About shooting a man down in cold blood.
Who said anything
That's what
about...
you're thinking, isn't it? A man you haven't even seen. In exchange for what they took from you. That's what you're thinking. Finding a man just like your father. A fine White House just like your own. An eye for an eye and a tooth
That's
for...
enough, Gordon. I was just making conversation, something to talk about. Forget it.
I'm not going to.
You were very fond of my father, Gordon.
Yes, I was.
I remember when you heard what happened, you said they murdered him. It was a simple act of murder.
It was.
Well?
Phil, we're here to do a job. And it may be very important.
I said I'd carry out my assignment, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
All right. Come on, it's 10 o'clock. I think I'll turn in. I'm going to church in the morning. Want to come with me?
It's good being back, Cousin. It's been a long time. I saw Joni last night. She'll be along. I'll be seeing her in just a minute. Oh, I beg your pardon. I said I beg your pardon.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
A beautiful day, isn't it?
Yes, very.
And we ask thy help and guidance, O Lord, in these times of our trouble. Amen. Friends, our St. Albans medical unit is almost ready to leave for the front lines. But we still need your generous contributions. Our good friend and leading citizen, Mr. Roger Harrison, has pledged $100 to the fund. As the plate passes among you, let each one look into his heart and ask, have I done enough? I know what your answer will be. And may the blessings of the Lord be on each and every one of you.
In just a moment, we'll return to our story, presented by Goodyear, the greatest name in rubber. '57 is the value year at Goodyear. And now for motorists everywhere, here's a truly sensational value. A Goodyear tire priced as low as $13.35, plus tax and your recapable tire. Yes, as low as $13.35. At that price, you might expect to get an unknown make of tire. But not this time. This time, you get a brand new Goodyear tire for as little as $13.35. The name of the tire? Well, watch. You take a foot, add a pair of wings. 2 words. There it is. Super Cushion by Goodyear, the most famous name in automobile tires. Now on sale at your Goodyear dealers at this amazing low price, $13.35, plus tax and your recapable tire. That's for a black wall tube type Super Cushion in the popular 670 by 15 size. And look at what you get at this low price. Goodyear 3T cord construction, triple tempered for extra strength. And extra strength means more protection against the danger and delay of tire trouble. Super Cushions also give you a treadful of traction, thanks to hundreds of gripping sawtooth edges and safety stop notches. Traction means extra safety for your family on all roads, in all weather. Finally, you get the quality of this famous trademark. The foot, the pair of wings, and the 2 words, Super Cushion by Goodyear. The price again, just $13.35, plus tax and your recapable tire. That's all you pay for a 670 by 15 Super Cushion black wall tube type. And you also get Goodyear's famous lifetime guarantee. Be sure to ask about this when you stop in at your Goodyear dealers to see his sensational 1957 values. Remember, 1957 is the value year at Goodyear. Another reason why more people ride on Goodyear tires than on any other kind. See your Goodyear dealer and save.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Is Mr. Harrison in?
Well, not yet, sir. He'll be here at 5 after 9. That's 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Cullen. This is my assistant, Mr. Dober.
Mr. Dober?
I'd like to arrange for you to honor a letter of credit from the Bank of Montreal. I was told you could accommodate me.
Well, I'm sure we can, sir.
How late are you open on business days?
3:30.
Now, I'll require quite a good deal of cash.
I'm sure we can get you all you need.
Good.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not sure how long I'll be here. I don't like to carry too much money with me. I wonder, would it inconvenience you if I,
Oh, not at all. Just keep your cash right here in the vault. I'm always here to open the cash section.
That's fine.
Morning, John.
Oh, Mr. Harrison.
Yes.
This is Mr. Cullen from Montreal.
Oh, how do you do, sir? Can I help you?
I believe you can.
I see. Won't you come in?
Thank you. Oh, Dober, will you wait?
Well, Mr. Cullen, I think we can accommodate you.
Good. I'll notify my bank in Montreal.
Good.
Do you keep as much as 20,000 on hand?
We do, sir, but our checks are on it everywhere.
Well, I think cash speaks louder than words when you're buying horses, Mr. Harrison.
Well, perhaps you're right. Of course, you may not find the animals you need. The Army always has first call.
Of course. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Harrison.
And with you, sir.
You ever have time for a sociable drink?
I make time for that.
I'm stopping at the American House.
Well, that's on my way home. I live right across the green.
Shall we say 5 o'clock in the tap room?
I'll be there.
You live across from the American House?
Yes. It's that white frame colonial. It was built in 1752.
I've noticed it already. Very handsome house.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Harrison, I also noticed a flag in the yard. Do you have a son in the service?
Unfortunately, no.
Just wondered. 5 o'clock, sir.
In the tap.
The vault room at the St. Albans Bank opens at 9 a.m. Stays open all day. Plenty of cash on hand.
Davis?
Same with the Franklin Bank, sir.
What about the First National?
9:05 to 3:30.
When does the St. Albans close?
Around 4, it varies.
Good. All right, we'll meet later in the day and map out the escape route. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
And then they told us he'd been captured at Malvern Hill. And later, they told us he died in a prison near Petersburg. I didn't really believe it. I used to go to this lady who told fortunes. She'd say, "Your father's coming back. There's been a mistake in the records. He's coming back. You're lucky you live in Canada."
Yes, I am.
Do you believe in fortune tellers?
No, I don't think so. I never
I
had.
still do. I guess that's pretty silly, isn't it?
No, Miss Loco.
Even when I know they're not telling the truth.
But you can't be sure. You see, they do get the records mixed. I was in a prison at Camp Douglas.
Yes?
I mean, I've heard of cases where those things happen. I really have. And when this war is over, you might find, well, anything.
When the war is over.
It will be.
I suppose so. Someday.
Are you... Do you think you will be here in St. Albans, Miss Loco?
Oh, yes. We're going to live out on the farm with my Uncle Philip.
Oh, I see.
Do you plan to?
No, this will be my last visit here until I finish my present business.
Oh, I see.
Maybe I could come back someday. If circumstances work out.
That'd be nice.
They might work out. I mean, circumstances.
I hope so, Mr. Wesley.
Of course, sometimes they don't.
Yes, I know.
But they could.
Yes, they could.
Would you... Would you care to go inside and look at the stereoscope, Miss Slocum?
No, I don't think so.
Are you warm enough? Would you like me to fetch your wrap?
No, I'm very comfortable, thank you.
Miss Slocum, your mother will be coming soon, and I...
Yes?
Well, she'll be coming, and conversation will be general. In case I shouldn't get a chance to talk with you alone of my business.
Yes, Mr. Wesley?
I'm afraid I can't put sentiment to words, Miss Slocum. I'm very sorry.
It's all right. It's not expected.
I'd like to.
Perhaps you'd better get my wrap, Mr. Wesley. It is getting quite chilly.
Of course.
And you might meet me down by the bandstand. I don't think Mother will find us there.
Not bothering you?
No, of course not.
I am bothering you. Wondering if you ought to speak to the lieutenant about me.
That's not so.
It is so. You've been watching me every minute for the last 2 days.
Phil.
You have, Gordon. You don't hide it very well. You've even been considering the possibility that I'm mentally sick.
I never...
I'm not. I'm as rational as you are.
Of course you are. I never said you weren't.
I know you didn't. You just sat there and watched me.
I'm sorry. You're unnecessarily sensitive, Phil.
You don't mean sensitive.
I mean what I say.
Do you?
Yes. You're moody, you're sensitive, you're...
Unbalanced?
I didn't say that.
But that's what you think. Just because I propose to eliminate one enemy who doesn't happen to have on a uniform.
Because you're thinking of something that's murder. War or no war.
Murder?
Yes. Don't tell me they murdered your father if that's so.
I don't have to tell you. It's plain you recognize
I don't. I just know what you're thinking.
And I'm wrong?
Yes.
What name do you give it, what they did to my family?
Oh, Phil!
Go on, name it! What's the whole thing been but murder? 3 bloody murderous years and God knows how many more. Why should he get off free?
Because...
He's part of their war machine. He sells bonds that build factories, that make guns.
You're making this up, Phil. You're trying to justify yourself.
He's as much the enemy as any man you ever put a bullet through. You know he is.
Do I?
He'd tell you so himself if you asked him.
All right. Why don't you ask him?
I intend to. He's having a drink with me this afternoon. I intend to ask him.
What time is it, John?
It's 5:45, sir.
Already?
Yes, sir.
Well, close up.
Oh, yes, sir. I locked the vault, Mr. Harrison. The 20,000 cash came in.
Thank you. Did you go through it, John?
No, sir, I didn't.
No casualties from St. Albans.
Thank you, sir.
John, your boy's going to be all right.
I keep praying he will, but I keep thinking that some night I'll see his name there. Last month, his brigade was at Winchester. They lost half their men in one afternoon. The generals don't care anymore, sir. They send them out to be slaughtered in thousands.
John, it'll be over soon.
Soon enough? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Shall I put away the ledger?
No, I'll do that. You go home, John.
Good night, Mr.
Good night.
Oh, you asked me to remind you the gentleman from Montreal is expecting you for a drink.
Oh, yes, Mr. Cullen. Seems like a fine young man.
I say he's trapped, gentlemen. There's no two ways about it. I give him 6 months, no more. Oh, good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
You gentlemen know each other?
We haven't had the pleasure.
Mr. Dawson, this here is Mr. Davis.
How do you do, sir?
This is Mr. Young.
Sir?
Don't tell me your name, sir. One thing I never forget, a name. Mr. Howard, correct?
MacDowell.
That's right, I knew I almost had it. Well, sit down, gentlemen. Sit down, sit down. What we were discussing here is General Lee's predicament at Petersburg. I say he's trapped fair and square, and the war will be over by spring.
You see no possibility of relieving the pressure on General Lee.
Name me one.
We've heard talk, sir, of the formation of a Southern Army in Canada.
Impossible.
Well, now, that would draw a good many of Grant's men from the siege at Petersburg, now wouldn't it, sir?
It might. But let me tell you something, gentlemen. The South has lost the will to fight. Maybe you folks in Canada don't realize that when they lost Atlanta, it took the starch right out of them. No morale left.
I've heard differently, sir.
Oh, yeah?
I've heard that the North is tired of the war, that one bold stroke could change the entire picture overnight.
You heard wrong, mister.
If Southern troops were to arrive here in St. Albans tomorrow afternoon, what do you think the effect might be?
Here? In St. Albans?
You'd be forced to call Burlington for help, wouldn't you, sir?
Southern troops? In Vermont? With all due respects to our good neighbor Canada, you are being very unrealistic.
We probably are, sir.
But it would be a surprise. It might even catch General Grant off guard, or might it not, sir?
Oh, it might. Johnny Rebs in St. Albans, Vermont. Why, it'd be just as easy to see troops from the moon. Hey, waiter, something to eat over here. We're hungry. Now, gentlemen, shall we forget the discussion of war?
By all means.
I would like to tell you a rather humorous...
Afternoon.
Did I keep you waiting?
Tall, what do you have?
Sherry, please.
My table's right over there.
Two.
Normally, I drive a white.
One sherry and double
I
whiskey,
met
please.
several of my customers, and each one asked me, why are you driving a black mule? So I said, well, it'll be much easier to sneak out of town at night.
So I told them that I had fought with General Taylor at Buena Vista in '48, even offered to raise a regiment. But they said somebody had to stay home and keep business going.
Man doesn't necessarily have to be in the front lines to be a soldier, Mr. Harrison.
And so they tell us at the patriotic rallies.
You don't believe it?
Well, yes, I believe it.
But it's not quite the same as being in the line, huh?
Not quite. Oh, to be sure, we help in an indirect way. St. Albans always takes more than its share of war bonds.
My guess would be that you're largely responsible for that.
Well, I do head the bond committee and handle all the money. But then, of course, every
They
man...
say that money fights, Mr. Harrison?
Yes, I suppose it does.
And in a very real sense, you could consider yourself a soldier.
Perhaps, but in a most limited way.
But a soldier, nevertheless. To a Southerner, you're the enemy, Mr. Harrison.
I'd be proud to think I was. But I'm afraid I'm merely a dull and uninspired banker.
If I were a Southern soldier, I'd hate you.
Would you? Why?
For what you did to my country. For burning it, torturing my people in the prison camps?
Oh, come now, Mr. Cullen, aren't you exaggerating a bit?
No. No, I'd hold you just as responsible as your generals. I'd accuse you of the new concept of total war. Total destruction of civilian property and lives behind the line.
I assure you, Mr. Cullen, I do not subscribe to that kind
All
of policy.
the North subscribes to it.
Are you sure, Mr. Cullen?
How could I be? I was just putting myself in the place of the Southern soldier.
Well, it doesn't seem to be much of a place, does it? Do you realize it's 7 o'clock, Mr. Cullen? I'm afraid I've got to get home.
One more sherry.
No, thank you, really.
You could tell your wife you were detained on business.
I'm afraid I couldn't. Thank you for the drink, sir.
My pleasure, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, we have your cash at the bank. You can come in any time tomorrow.
I'll be in around 3.
Good. Once again, sir, thank you and good night.
Good night, Mr. Harrison.
I'm going to talk to the lieutenant and ask him to have you sent back to Montreal.
If you do, I'll kill that man tonight. I mean it, Gordon.
In just a moment, we will return to our story. Presented by Goodyear, the greatest name in rubber. Here's what Pliobond can do. This Goodyear adhesive cements a coupling so securely. It can support the full weight of a 5,000-pound truck. This is Pliobond. You can use it in your home to bond virtually anything to anything. Dozens of household items are easily mended with Pliobond. Lamps, chairs, toys, jewelry, fishing gear, shoes, dishes, handbags. Pliobond bonds plastics, rubber, metal, ceramics, paper, and wood to themselves or to each other. To prove it, here are 4 straps, each made of 2 distinctly different materials, securely cemented with Pliobond. Now watch. This man is swinging his full weight on each strap. These are basic materials found around your house, and with Pliobond, all of them bond quickly and bond firmly. Just how firmly we'll show you again. This coupling is made of 2 pieces of steel bar bonded with Pliobond. We place it here between the crane hook and the cables. It's the only link between truck and crane. On signal, up she goes. 5,000 pounds straining at a microscopically thin film of Pliobond. This is why this great Goodyear adhesive has been successfully used more than a dozen years for the toughest industrial jobs. There's nothing like Pliobond for those many mending jobs around your house. Get it in handy, inexpensive cans, bottles, or tubes, sold at chain, hardware, or hobby stores that display this poster. Ask for and get Pliobond by Goodyear. Bonds anything to anything.
Thy right hand, O Lord, is grown glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thine excellency thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of thy nostrils the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright as a heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. Amen. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Martin. it clear?
Oh, the plan. Yes, sir, it's entirely clear.
Good. You said you wanted to talk to me.
Yes, I did, but... Well, I won't bother you with it now. I guess it's something I ought to work out for myself. Well, it'll be a busy day tomorrow. I'll get some sleep.
Was it about one of the men, Gordon?
I'll work it out myself.
If it concerns the success of the raid, I ought to know.
Well, it was something personal.
Are you sure?
Well, I'd like to put it that way.
All right. Why don't you read a little before you go to sleep?
You think it would help?
Helps me.
You're lucky.
Yes, I am. Doesn't answer all the questions, but a good many.
Well, I don't think it would answer mine.
Maybe not.
I'll try it. Well, we won't be needing this anymore.
No, I'll take that. Gordon.
Yes?
You're a very good friend of Lieutenant Cullen, aren't you?
Yes. We grew up together.
And you were with him in the prison camp. Douglas, wasn't it?
Yes.
He has a very good record as an officer, Gordon. I wouldn't want him to spoil that record. I'm sure you wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't.
But if he goes against orders, even in the smallest degree, I'd just as soon let a court-martial put him in front of a firing squad.
Yes. You'd be right.
The success of this mission can't be jeopardized by one man's personal...
I know.
If he disobeys, I'd have...
He won't. I'll give you my guarantee on that.
Well, that's good enough. Good night, Gordon.
Good night, Lieutenant.
And I also love music and poetry and dances.
Don't go now, please.
I should really. Mom will be wondering where I am.
Tell me your favorite piece of music.
Well, I love everything. Do you know it's 10 o'clock?
Yes, I know.
Well, maybe tomorrow we could...
I won't be here. Well, I mean, I'm leaving in the afternoon.
Tomorrow?
3:30.
Oh.
Do you like to ride, Miss Slocum?
Yes, I love it.
So do I. I had a horse named Diamond once. He was a jumper. He wasn't afraid of anything. He was beautiful. He was light chestnut colored.
Well, I think that's my favorite. It's the nicest color of all.
Do you?
It's my favorite. Oh, I really do have to go.
Yes, I suppose you do.
Well, maybe tomorrow before you leave...
I won't be able to see you. I'll be very busy.
Oh, I see.
Not that I wouldn't want to
It's
see
all
you.
right, I understand.
No, I'm afraid you don't. But you will. After I'm gone tomorrow, you'll know a lot of things about me.
I will?
Yes.
Well, I'll look forward to that, Mr. Wesley. Good night.
Good night, Miss Slocum.
Good night.
Do you believe that two people who have things in common, like music and horses, even if they come from different backgrounds or just barely know each other for 3 or 4 days,
Yes, I do, Mr. Wesley. But we'll talk about that the next time I see you, when those circumstances work out.
Well, I don't think they will, Miss Slocum.
Well, you never can tell.
I can this time. I feel sure I won't ever see you again.
I feel sure you will, Mr. Wesley. Good night.
Good night, Miss Slocum.
Minutes.
You all know something? This is sure going to be a big surprise to these poor folks.
I guess they never figured the war would come this far north.
Seems kind of shame to wake them up, don't it?
It'll be a pleasure.
We all set, gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
Your men down at the livery stable?
Yes, sir.
As soon as you get enough horses, bring them out to the green.
Yes.
Your men on the street now?
Yes, sir.
Right. Good. I'm going to repeat what I said when we first arrived. Don't fire unless you're fired on. Let's complete the mission quietly and get out as fast as possible. And just one last thing. In case anything goes wrong and we can't meet at the first rendezvous, make your way to Montreal and get in touch with our agent there. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Look, sir.
And whatever you do, hold on to that money.
Well, now, that's one thing I never could do was to hold on to money.
Me either.
Mark, how much money this Yankee money you figure we can get in here?
Oh, I'm counting 100,000.
Well, now, your government's going to be mighty grateful to you, sir.
Well, I'm expecting a pretty handsome medal for this mission.
You'll be lucky if you aren't strung up on a lamppost.
This is a legitimate military operation, sir. May I remind you that
Come on. We're not going on a picnic.
Lieutenant, we know what we're doing. You conduct yourself according to the way you see fit, and we'll do the same.
I'll see you later, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mark. These folks are going to get a real big surprise in about 15 minutes.
Can I help you?
Yes, I think you can, sir. I'm interested in opening an account here.
All right, McDowell.
We're Confederate soldiers on a military mission. Now open that vault and get out the money.
You heard what he said.
Come on, Mr. Word, hurry. Open it. What was that?
Don't know. Sounds like shooting down there by the bank.
It's a holdup.
I don't know. I'm going to go down and have a look.
All right, Dover. We got the money. You go on down to the village green. I'll take the cashier with you.
Yes, sir. What about him, Lieutenant?
I'll take care of him.
Yes, sir. All right, let's see.
You've got the money. What else do you want?
I want to finish the conversation we had in the bar yesterday. You remember what we were talking about, Mr. Harrison?
Yes, I remember.
You were telling me about your contribution to the war effort. What did I say about that? What did I say about that?
You said I was the enemy.
You said you were as much a soldier as any man in the line. That's right, isn't it?
Yes.
Back home, we had a house like yours, Mr. Harrison. A nice white house on the green. And they burned it down. For no reason at all. They drove my family out in the fields like cattle. And they didn't even leave them grass to eat. My father lost his mind and died.
I'm very sorry.
That's good. We all ought to be very, very sorry. You're a good man, Mr. Harrison. Just like my father was.
You'll be sorry for the rest of your life if you do that.
It's necessary. For a balance.
No.
Maybe if it happens up here, they'll stop burning houses and killing people. Maybe they'll find out what this war is really like.
Come on, we gotta get out of here fast. Some of the townspeople have guns.
You take care of your own squad, Gordon.
Get out in that green.
Let him alone. He's my business.
Feel the whole town shooting. We've got to get out.
I don't need much time.
Get out in that green, mister. You open your mouth just once, I'll kill you.
What's happening out there?
It's a holdup. They're coming out of all the banks with money. It's those Canadians. There must be 50 of them, running all over with guns.
The ones that were staying here?
They're bandits. They've already killed one man. I saw him lying on the street in front of the harness shop.
The ones that registered right here from Canada?
They're a pack of cutthroats. I tell you what I'm going to do, mister. I'm going to go up there.
I'm a Confederate soldier on a military mission. Now, you do what you're told and you won't get hurt. You walk over to the green where you see the other people. And keep your hands up.
You're Confederates?
Yes, sir, we are. Now, you move along, please. We don't want to stay here any longer than we have to.
I don't think you'd better go out and help, Tommy. You didn't bring your gun, did you? No, I thought not. I'll tell you. You watch over Amelia here. That'll help most. I think they've gone now. Well, let's find your folks, shall we? Come on.
Then they got practically the whole village out on the green there. Well, sir, that's when this cavalry captain came along.
Captain Conger, 1st Vermont Cavalry. Conger. He's my cousin. My name is Wilson, John Wilson.
Then they grabbed this Captain Conger, and they put him under guard. But he just punched one of them and ran right back here to the hotel and out the back way, bullets popping all over.
And then he went up and down the streets telling all the people to get their guns.
Then, by heaven, we drove them off. They ran like rebel cowards when they found out we had guns. Didn't they run?
Of course, they got more than $200,000 out of the banks, and I guess there wasn't much sense in staying around.
Oh, Lordy, I have to be on the road in the morning. Well, good night, sir. Pleasure talking with the press. So, my name is Beaker, Alden Beaker of Halsey and West, Ironware.
Thank you very much, sir. Right this way. I'm going to have you meet Mr. Pritchard. Now, he can tell you everything that happened on Elm Street. Well, that'll be a very good idea.
And then he said he had a horse named Diamond, a jumper. And then he asked me if I liked to ride. I said I did. And then he said, I don't think I'll ever see you again, Miss Slocum. And I said, I'm sure you will, Mr. Wesley.
Why don't you tell me the rest when we get upstairs?
That's all there is to it. There is nothing more to tell.
The 20 Confederate soldiers who raided the town of St. Albans, Vermont, got away safely to Canada with $208,000 of United States currency. Their mission diverted a few companies of soldiers from the Northern Reserve, but no further raids followed this one. Lieutenant Young, who led the raid, survived the war and, along with Jefferson Davis and certain other Confederates, was excluded from President Johnson's pardon. This, in the South, was considered a very great honor, especially for a young lieutenant.
In just a moment, we'll show you the names of tonight's cast and tell you about next week's story. But first, here's a word from Susan Shaw for Neolite.
What's the smartest news on shoes this fall? New Crown Neolite soles, of course. They help shoes look better, walk better, wear better. New Crown Neolite, the miracle shoe sole that gives double the wear in every pair, keeps the whole family on a comfortable footing. That's why so many famous brands of shoes feature Crown Neolite by Goodyear. Notice the beauties in our Neolite showcase tonight. Such high styles. And you'll feel like you're walking on air in these Viner whisper steps because they have light, flexible Neolite soles. Neolite's a blessing on children's shoes, too. Red Goose makes these pretty party pumps, and they're just perfect for skipping, dancing young feet because they're built on sturdy, damp-proof Neolite soles. So remember, the next time you're shopping for shoes or having shoes resoled, insist on genuine Neolite, made only by Goodyear.
One week from tonight, the Alcoa Hour will present Night by Bill Barrett, based on a novel by Enrico Verissimo. This is the gripping story of that part of a great metropolis that comes to life during the hours between darkness and dawn, and of the strange night people who inhabit its shadowy streets and alleys. Starring Fran Chautone, E.G. Marshall, and Jason Robards, Jr., Night tells of the shattering experience of a normal man caught up in this half-world, uncertain of his identity, and afraid that he has committed murder. Under the control of two fascinating and malevolent creatures of the night, he passes through a series of startling adventures before dawn brings him release from them and from the fears that have been haunting him. Fran Chautone and E.G. Marshall as the night people, and Jason Robards, Jr. as their potential victim, are certain to hold you spellbound in this thrilling drama. That's 1 week from tonight on the Alcoa Hour. And now the names in tonight's cast. Two weeks from tonight, on the Goodyear Playhouse, see The Best Wine by John Blahos, starring Walter Slezak. According to the old saying, the last of the wine is the best. And this warm and appealing drama tells the story of an elderly, yet still powerful man whose struggle for dignity and affection proves to him that the saying is correct. You'll be both entertained and moved by The Best Wine, starring Walter Slezak. 2 weeks from tonight on the Goodyear Playhouse. This is Ralph Paul saying good night for Goodyear. When they're ready for college, will college be ready for them? This is not an idle question, because unless we get busy now, there won't be room in college for thousands of deserving youngsters 10 years from now. Help the college of your choice now.